People of the internet, welcome back to another video. Thank you for tuning in. It is I, Don Thomas, back with another video. And we're going to dive right in, man. Let's not waste any time. I want to present something to you that has been pretty recent in the news as well, too. Of course, I try to keep up with the most recent topics or things that I feel like can open up some type of conversation in terms of morality and ethics and value. And this is a good one. This is a good one, man. This is a good think piece, I believe. I definitely want to get your take on this, man. So diving right in, man, a gentleman of the name of Ray Kurzweil. So if you don't know who Ray Kurzweil is, basically he is an ex-Google engineer, pretty much known for being accurate in the predictions that he's made in terms of human civilization and, you know, things that should come to pass in the future. So basically, as I mentioned, of course, a former Google engineer. Basically, I'll read it here. So it says, a former Google engineer has made a stark realization that humans will achieve immortality in 8 years. And 86% of his 147 predictions, have been correct. So he's pretty accurate in his depiction. I think one of the things he's actually predicted accurately before was that he was able to, he predicted that humans will be able to, a computer will be able to beat a human in a game of chess by the year 2000, and that indeed was something that did come to fruition, along with some other things as well too. I don't know all his predictions that he's pretty much gotten correctly, but he's at 86%, which is pretty accurate in terms of that. So along with that, he is basically predicting that immortality will be achievable by the year 2030, right? So it says here, humans will achieve immortality in 8 years, says former Google engineer who has predicted the future with 86% accuracy, right? So I want to open up this conversation and kind of think to you, present the question to you guys as to what do you think about that idea, right? The idea of being able to live forever, or I guess longer than the normal human span in which we've been living, that humans usually tend to live. I think the average life expectancy plan right now, I think for the most part is 60, 70, I think maybe 80 if I'm not mistaken, but I think that number is actually deteriorating because of, of course, there's been technological advances that of course, have us living longer than generations before us because of the medicines and the technology. But there's also things that are still currently killing us as well, too, like the food and the water, the air, whatever the case is. So I'm pretty sure the average, not too sure what it is now, but we're definitely not living to 100 and 150, as it, says, people in the biblical times once lived to, if that was, indeed accurate. But immortality, is that something that entices you? Do you think that you would want to live forever if given the opportunity? Which I actually want to speak on as well, too, if given the opportunity, right? Because I honestly don't think that that is something that's going to be accessible to regular old people like you and I, right? As I mentioned, of course, which is also interesting. I'll also touch on this as well, too. Another person made the same prediction or, spoke about immortality and their belief in it being something that was going to be something that is going to be possible in the near future. Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner, if you don't know, he is the son-in-law of Donald Trump. So, of course, he's in that bracket, right? He is in the elite and the wealthy, of course, or the privileged, I guess you could say. I do think that if indeed immortality is going to be something that's going to be possible, it's going to be possible to those people. I don't think regular people like you and I are going to even have the chance, the opportunity to, have the opportunity to live, be immortal, what are the cases. I do think that's something that's going to be for the privileged and the privileged only, for the wealthy and the wealthy only. Think about it. Perfect example, just like even going to the moon, right? Or Mars, whatever it was. Remember when Bezos was handpicking or, inviting people to fly up in a rocket ship with him to go up to Mars or what are the cases, or to the moon, wherever they were going. That was something that was available. I think you had to either had a super cosign, or, you were rich or wealthy or famous, whatever the case is, and you were the only ones, I think, or the tickets where they were charged. I forgot how much it was, whatever the case. But, of course, things like that are going to be super costly, and that's not going to be something that everybody's going to be able to do. Everybody's not going to get a chance to go to the moon. Everybody's not going to get a chance to go to Mars, this and the other. So I would classify immortality in that same bucket. I don't believe everybody's going to be given the opportunity to even be presented with the option to live forever. But would you want to live forever anyway? Is that something that's enticing to you? What are the pros and cons do you think are as to why somebody would want to live forever? Off the top of my head, the only thing I can think of is, hey, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to watch my kids grow up. I want to this, that, and the other, whatever the case is. Those are really things I can really think of as to why anybody would want to live forever. Me personally, I would not. I would not. Like, that does not sound enticing to me at all. I believe, and again, I wanted to get into the ethics of it all, because of course on this channel we do speak about philosophy, self-improvement, and the culture, correct? So I believe this almost presents a philosophical question. Do you guys think it's more morally correct to be immortal, right? Do you think there's ethics? And again, I'm not the most religious person. Of course, I do personally believe in a higher power. I do believe we're all spiritual beings. I believe in an afterlife as well too. I believe once we do our time, our time on this planet in the normal average lifespan, however long or short that may be, I do believe that our soul moves on. I believe we have spirits, we have souls. I believe we are only using these bodies as vehicles to engage with our five senses on this human experience. And when that time is up, we will depart these physical bodies, and our souls will progress. Do I even necessarily believe in reincarnation? I kind of do. I'm the type of person, I don't put nothing past nothing. I'm not going to sit here and be hard fixed on anything. I wouldn't push any possibility out the table. So yeah, I personally do believe that immortality is immoral. I do believe that I would even argue as well too, based off my, spiritual beliefs. I do believe that in some situations, the realms beyond, if you believe in realms beyond, or if you believe in not necessarily heaven and hell, but if you believe that your soul transcends this human experience, in some cases that experience might be better than your current reality now. I personally do believe that. I do believe, I don't really fear death, to be completely honest, man. I think I even once tweeted that some time ago. I said, I respect death. I'm not afraid to die, but I do think death is a worthy adversary, something along those lines, man. I do believe it is a part of life, and I do think it's what makes us human. And I do think a healthy balance of there's a philosophical saying. I think the Stoics use the term memento mori, right? Memento mori is a phrase that it's a Greek old Stoic belief, I guess, from the Greeks, basically around that time, where it basically translates to mean remember you will die. So memento mori means remember you will die, right? And the Stoics basically use that mantra or use that mindset to encourage them to take advantage of the opportunities that were presented to them, right? It was a reminder to yourself. I think if done correctly, meditating on your death could be used to your advantage if done correctly, right? Right? If done correctly, because it helps you be more intentional with the fact that, hey, man, I don't have time to waste, right? I remember you will die, right? Remember that we must move on, So it's like knowing that, I think that helps you move with a little bit of urgency, with a little bit of purpose, when you tell yourself that, hey, man, I don't know how much time I have on this planet. So, yeah, me personally, I do believe it's part of the human experience to move on. And I personally would opt out. If given the opportunity for immortality, I would opt out of that. I do believe that, again, in some situations where you would find yourself beyond this human experience might even be 10 times, 20 times better than what you're doing now. Reincarnation, as I mentioned as well too, I wouldn't necessarily throw that on throw that out the window. I do believe, hey, do you come back as a cat, a dog, a tree, a plant? Maybe. Who's to say? Maybe, maybe not. Who's to say? But I just don't personally see anything in this world right now that would motivate me to want to stick around any longer. Like, what would you be missing out of? I personally don't suffer from FOMO. I do not suffer from the fear of missing out. So I think, wanting to live here forever, what's happening in this world, in my personal opinion, this world has nothing going for it right now. Nothing. Racial tension is growing. Ignorance is growing. Wealth disparity is growing. What do you see in this world that's happening right now that's telling you that, hey, man, yeah, I want to stick around. I can see if we lived in a utopia. I can see if everything was good. There was no wars. There was no killing. There was no unnecessary evils of the world, and everybody had enough, everything was plentiful, there was enough resources for everybody, then yeah, of course, sign me up. I would want to stick around here for as long as possible, if all was well, if everybody was indeed eating, if we were all on some type of, I'm not saying necessarily, all on some type of even playing field, but if there wasn't as much destruction and chaos in the world as there is today, then yeah, of course I would want to stick around. But what is happening in the world that you are afraid to miss out of? Again, minus your family, your loved ones that of course you'll miss dearly when they go. Other than that, you throw that out. What else are you going to miss? What else? When your time is up, me personally, I'm here to fulfill a purpose. I feel like I want to do what I'm here to do and sail off smoothly into the sunset. I have no problem with going when my time is up, man. Like I said, I think knowing that you will leave this planet one day, if you meditate on that from time to time, it helps you move with some urgency. It helps you take things more seriously. It helps you even kind of pick and choose the battles that you're choosing to get into because you don't have time. When you wake up every day and tell yourself, hey, man, I don't know how much time I have. I personally do this. I don't know how much time I have on this planet. You don't know how much time you have on this planet. So it's just like knowing that puts a little bit of pep in your step. It should at least, right? So again, immortality for me, I do think that it does raise some type of question in terms of ethics and morality. Is it moral to want to be immortal? I personally don't think that it is, but of course these super elites can never put anything past them, man. I believe that they're always cooking up something, man. And again, I'm interested to see where you guys kind of land on that spectrum. Let me know what you guys think, man. Would you want to live forever if given that opportunity? What do you see? I'm curious to know. Answer below, man. What do you see in the world that's happening that would make you want to stick around for some time? Like, hey, man, I don't want to go because I want to do this. What does that mean? You know, and I even saw something as well, too, man. I think, you know, to the point I was making as well in terms of wanting to, you know, I think death is an important factor because if we did have time, let's say you knew 100% you could live to 300, 500 years old, you wouldn't be urgent. You wouldn't be in a rush to do anything. Like, oh, you wouldn't be as hard pressed on accomplishing your goals or maybe starting that family, whatever the case is, because like you would feel like you have time. I feel like we would all be sloths and gluttonous as much as we already are now. But it's just like, oh, no, I'll get to that. I'll get to that in 3 years. I'll get to that in 300 years or whatever the case is. Oh, I'll get to that. Knowing that you could die, put some urgency in your step to accomplish things now. It helps you it helps you not take people for granted and your loved ones for granted and these opportunities that you're probably blessed with that you always take for granted for now. When you know that, hey, man, I could go at any moment. You don't take certain things for granted. You don't take your time for granted. You don't take your loved ones and the people around you for granted. You don't take the opportunities that you've been blessed with for granted when you know that it could be gone like that. So, you know, I think we would find ourselves just being in this type of gluttonous, sloth-like lifestyle if we knew that, oh, I'm going to be here for another 300, 500 years. What's the rush, you know? But again, that's just my take. And again, I feel like this kind of falls into one of those philosophical questions as to, you know, we kind of touched on the afterlife and things of that nature. But I'm curious to know, would you want to live forever if that was something that was presented to you? Because it looks like the super elites are pretty headstrong on that being a possibility in the next 8 years. Curious to hear your thoughts. Share them below.